You see, once you get involved
Or
with
is it
one,
luck?
no, luck, I would say 1%, but you can't do without that 1%. You need 99% effort, 1% luck, but that luck is important. So I would be lying next to her, reading the same Urdu magazine, and that kind of kept me in touch with Urdu, which came very handy later. And also, it gave me stories of all kinds to know at a very young age.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new series, Future Skill Conversations, powered by MESC, a platform where we explore the journeys of people who have shaped the creative industries from cinema, theatre to technology and storytelling. I am your host, Sandeep Sharma, and our today's guest is someone who has witnessed the evolution of Indian cinema and theatre across decades. Salim Arifji is an alumnus of the legendary National School of Drama and has worked as theatre director, scenographer, costume designer on some of the very iconic projects, including Bharat Ek Khoj, Mirza Ghalib, Machis, Takshak, and many others. He has also worked very closely with legendary filmmakers like Gulzar Saab and Sham Benegal. Salim Saab, thank you for joining us. Let's start from the beginning.
Well, the earliest memory I have is of opening my eyes in a place in a city, Lucknow, and I was very close to a cinema hall. In fact, I was in a lane next to the cinema hall called Nishad then, and so I have the memory of these huge signboard painters. Remember old hand painted hoardings and banners would be there. So they would be making film banners and film hoardings, and I would go and watch that, and then I would come home and imitate the same graph method of enlarging faces and all that. So I developed an interest in drawing and painting because of that. So I started imitating that graph method of enlargement of faces and making portraits, and I developed an interest in painting, drawing. And when I was in Lucknow University doing my BA, I got a few prizes at the All India cultural festivals. I don't know, they might still be happening, where you'll have, say, IITs from all over India, and then there would be colleges and universities. So I represented Lucknow University and got first prize in on the spot painting. That kind of encouraged me that I should take it a little more seriously than I was. But it was always an issue as far as my studies was concerned, because I had interest in cricket and painting, and that took a little time, and my family was very concerned because my brothers did very well, elder to me. The eldest became an engineer, and the younger to him became a doctor. So all the focus and pressure was on me. And it so happened that I saw plays. Then one of my friends invited me to make posters of a play. So I made posters of a play called King Oedipus, which was done by Suryamohan Kulshresht and Meghdoot Group, and Khosla Sahab, Chandramohan Khosla invited me to do that. So that kind of introduced me to the theatre fraternity of Lucknow.
That's so interesting because I always have had this question that when someone ends up in an art form
Yeah.
and you've been into theater, you've been into storytelling, what are the prerequisites, what are the traits, what are the innate qualities someone would have
Yeah.
that they go towards this side, this very I would say a side which is very criticized or which is very critically thought from the beginning by
Yeah.
parents, like you said. So you said drawing. My question is that art,
Mm.
does art take you towards
I
storytelling?
don't know. I don't know. It can. I know people who have come from engineering background. A lot of engineers want to be filmmakers now.
But engineers seem to be confused
Yes.
all, and I've seen.
I don't know. A lot of doctors have come and done theatre.
Yes.
Maharashtra is full of them. Jabbar Patel Sahab, Mohan Akashi ji, Dr. Lagu, such a great actor. So I don't know what draws you into an art form, but definitely it is something which is not very conventional, in the sense that uh, you do not like to have a 10 to 5 job. You do not like to be told what to do, I guess, in some ways. And it's a rebellion of sorts,
Mm-hmm.
as far as I look at it, because that may be coming from, I don't know what triggers it. But I've known people who wanted to be writers right from a very young age and became one. I've known people who acquired the skill of writing scripts coming into cinema from journalism, from other sources. I know MBAs, people like Bobby Bedi Saab and Mani Ratnam ji. They came from MBA management background and made films. So I don't know what triggers it, but the fact remains that till today I do not think people look at arts as a very professional or a commercially viable option,
Yeah,
which is something I think we need to change because
it's unfortunate.
this is very unfortunate because the I would say the survival rate in arts is as good as in engineering or medicine or whatever. And so for youngsters, as I can understand the pressure we all were in. And I think the plus point in this situation is that once you've decided to take a non-conventional profession, which it was
Yeah.
then you had to succeed. Like the whole pressure was to do or die. So when you are being pushed toward the wall, you really come out and you do your best. So in my case, what happened was that I decided and I told my parents that I do not want to do a bank job. I do not want to do this. So they were very confused at one level, very concerned at one level. Where will I end? And then I managed to see plays of Al-Qazi Saab, then Bansi Kaul's Alaf Sar in Lucknow, then Habib Saab's Mitti Ki Gaadi, then Ratan Tiyam's Urubangam. So these plays suddenly opened my eyes to a whole new world of theatre, and I realized it had everything that interested me. So it had painting, visuals, it had poetry, it had literature. So all that. And let me tell you, in my family, magazines were very frequent. So there would be a whole lot of Urdu magazines in my home. There would be Diwan Ghalib, there would be Diwan Amir and things like that, which my parents, my father, my mother, they used to read often. So my interest in reading was very early on. It so happened that my mother post lunch would take an Urdu magazine, lie down and read before she went off to sleep. That was her only rest time, post lunch for about 2 hours. So I would be lying next to her, reading the same Urdu magazine. And that kind of kept me in touch with Urdu, which came very handy later. And also, it gave me stories of all kinds to know at a very young age. So that developed an interest in reading. And once I got interested in reading, then all kinds of books were there, and we had a library very close to our house, Amiruddaulah Library. So I used to go and read magazines, read. In fact, I used to buy magazines, sports magazine, Illustrated Weekly. So whatever pocket money I had was spent on these things, which is very rare now, but I can share this with you. So somehow I just got inclined towards literature and reading, and so that kind of gave me an idea that, well, this can be. And I met, it so happened that once I got into theater, amateur theater Lucknow, I was studying in university, working with groups in the evening. So I could meet someone like Mr. Raj Bisaria, who was a professor of English at the University of Lucknow and also a very good theater teacher, actor, director. Then there was Mr. Kuvan Narayan, one of the finest Hindi poets we have had. He was available to me for discussions. There was Ranveer Singh Bisht, who was a very good painter. He was there in Lucknow. So moving in the within the art circles gave me a very different kind of confidence and encouragement, both. Because when I looked at them and I saw them leading very good lives, so I thought maybe if I seriously try, it'll not be so bad. So from cricket to painting to
Yeah.
theater,
Interesting.
this is how it happened. And then, of course, I was fortunate to get an admission in NSD honor scholarship. That came handy. But before that, I was in Lucknow for about 9 months in Bharatiya Academy, where we had Mr. Anupam Kher as a teacher, Bhatia Saab, and that kind of cultivated a very different mindset into me. And then National School of Drama happened.
So it's so interesting, and I it's so inspirational at the same time. I'm sure that our viewers would be um, so inspired by your story. I want to ask you one more question before we head to the next part
Yeah.
of your journey. So you don't come from a family of filmmakers or storytellers, and as you mentioned that your siblings are engineers, and that same pressure that every
Yep.
family feels in
Yep.
our country. Is it your some sort of innate attitude, some way that you hustled through and you made something for yourself? Like you're saying that you read magazines, you went to the library, you joined your college club,
Yeah.
and then you also went into other
Yeah.
local Lucknow theater groups. Were you walking every day, knocking doors to reach that destination? How did it work for you? Is it your
See,
attitude, sir?
no, you see, once you get involved
Or
with
is
one,
it luck?
no, luck, I would say 1%,
Okay.
but you can't do without that 1%. You need 99% effort, 1% luck, but that luck is important. Uh, I was lucky. Now, if you look at it from that point of view, that I got an opportunity to meet some interesting theater people who encouraged me to take theater seriously. Then through them, I met another set of people in the entire theater fraternity of Lucknow who kind of recognized me as an important talent. And some of them are still alive. They really feel very happy seeing me where I am. So, and they feel happy with the idea that they could predict this at a very young age. So whenever I go to Lucknow, I am reminded of all that.
Who are those people, sir?
Like Surumon Kulshresh Saab, Krishna Ryan Kakkad, who's no more, Kuvan Narayanji, who's no more, Ranveer Singh Bisht, who's no more. These were very important people of the city and they encouraged me. And the bigger thing was that they gave me time. So whenever I could want to meet them for something, like I could go to Kuvan Narayanji and discuss Satyajit Ray with him. A very, and I feel very strange now that he could indulge in an 18-year-old with all kinds of stupid questions. They have every reason to say that I'm busy,
Yeah.
but they made themselves available to me. Krishna Ryan Kakkad, who was available to me, Bish Saab as a painter, Raj Bisaria Saab, who always encouraged me. I used to make posters for me and he paid me for that then, which was a big hire because you were being paid for doing something, which was an extra kind of money coming your way. So all these people encouraged me in their own way.
Yeah.
And I feel very grateful that they could spare time for me.
Mentorship is very important.
Yes, and they mentored me in a very different way. Like Kuvan Narayanji, when I said I find Satyajit Ray very simple. So he said, what are the films you've seen? So I said, I've seen Pather Panchali and one more film. So he said, see Aprajito, see Charulata. Then you arrive at an opinion. That was his polite way of telling me, you don't know much. So you have to know more. Now, I find that very, I would say, very lucky for myself that at that impressionable age, I could meet those people who gave me a way to look at things.
Yeah.
Bisaria Saab, Kakkar Saab. Now, they would simplify things for me. They would, whatever was mystical for me, they would put it in one line and say. So that was a very big mentorship. And then National School of Drama happened, where National School of Drama is a very unique institution because unique when I say the methodology of teaching is very different. It's a very adult institution in that sense. When I say adult, you are treated like an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an adult education program at one level, and it gives you exposure to practically all branches of art.
Yeah.
So we'll get the best painters to come and discuss painting with us. So we had someone like Mr. Vivan Sundaram come and do a workshop with us on painting. Then there would be someone like Manjeet Bawa, another great painter, who would come and talk about aesthetics painter. Then numerous, there would be Raghuveer Sahaji coming for poetry. There would be Agge coming and reciting his poetry to us. There would be singers. There would be Leela Samsonji coming and demonstrating Bharatanatyam nuances, and so on and so forth. And we had regular exposure to art exhibitions, to poetry, to music, concerts. And the great thing was that since it's a residential school and our hostel was very close to behind Kamani in Vakil Lane when we were students. So every night post dinner, we were working in the school say from 7:30 in the morning till about 9:30 in the night when we had our dinner, and then before we went for a regular chai to Bengali market,
Yeah.
we would take a detour to Kamani and have the last 1 hour of, say, a Birju Maharaj concert or Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, Pandit Kumar Gandhar, Shakti playing. You would just barge in and stand on the side, sit on the floor, and soak it in. Now, that exposure was priceless.
Yeah.
Because having the best of people come and perform for you in very close quarters was without making too much of an effort. So that was there. Then there was Pragati Maidan screening international films. Then there were embassies. So we were looking for these kind of things. So that groomed us for the larger platform.
Let's go towards your NSD journey a bit.
Yeah.
NSD is such a legendary school. Sir. So many great actors of our country, directors have come out of that school.
Yeah.
How was the culture like when you were at NSD?
It was very open. Open to the point that it was a cultural shock for someone like me coming from Lucknow. Because
How was
we
that, sir?
because you see, people you had read about. Say if you're reading a script like Aadhi Adhuri, there were pictures of Ram Gopal Bajaj Saab, Om Shivpuri ji, Sudha Shivpuri ji, Mohan Marishi. They were names for us. And stars, Manohar Singh Saab. Now suddenly you're in Delhi, you are seeing Manohar Singh live, walking across, greeting you. Or there would be Bajaj Saab, who's sharing his entire journey with us over a cup of tea at 8 in the night.
Oh,
So,
so they did not carry that star burden with them, or they
no,
how
no,
were
no.
they, sir?
The first thing NHS teaches you is to be grounded.
Yes.
So, all of us, and remember, there were only 20 students selected each year. So, practically everyone who was selected was somebody in his estate or in the city. So, it was news that so and so is selected in National School of Drama. So, it made headlines of sorts. It still does. So, then people didn't know too much about NSD because what had happened was that Nasir and Om Puri and Om Shivpuri ji, Sudha Shivpuri ji. Then there was Sai Paranjpe ji, who made films, who's also from NSD. Then Madhu Saab, the famous Malayalam actor. He was from the first batch, I think. So there were some success stories. But still, the whole parallel cinema movement was starting with Mr. Benegal. And Benegal Saab was a big, I would say, draw for all the NSDites to go and meet. And he would give them work, and practically everyone from NSD somewhere or the other started with Mr. Benegal. So that was the generation we were facing in. So from 81 to 84, it was a kind. Kananji had left for Bhopal, but he was still in school. Then Mr. B.M. Shah. But the fact remains that none of our classes got affected.
Okay.
We were depending on external faculty. There were not too many faculty then. The budgets were very low for NSD then. But the great thing was that our classes ran on time. We had productions, and teachers were available to us. So that was very important. And we were learning by doing, because this is actually, acting is like writing. You have to write to learn writing.
How would a normal day look like when you were there
So,
at NSD?
it would be 7:30 in the morning. We'll come in the campus. 8 o'clock would be our physical yoga, dance, movement, thangta, kalari, whatever, physical work for about an hour. So summers would be 8 to 9, winters would be 8:30 to 9:30. 1 hour of physical work, then there would be a half an hour breakfast break. Then 10 to 1, we'll have either 1.5 hours of two classes or 45 minutes of two literature classes and 1.5 hour of one practical class. It would be acting, speech, whatever. The second half, we'll have makeup, carpentry, draftsmanship or whatever. 3:30 to 4, we'll have a break. 4 onwards, we'll be rehearsing a play with an expert director, reading. So 4 to 6, that 4 to 6 became 4 to 7, then 4 to 8, then 4 to 9. And just a week or 10 days before the show, we would post dinner, work on our own in this premises till about 12, 1, whatever time we wanted to, amongst ourselves, without the director. So we were practically 18 hours a day in the campus.
And you used to stay there?
No, the girls would be staying in the hostel behind in the school. But we were a little far in the Vakil Lane, which was about a 10-minute walk or 5-minute walk. So we would go there in the night, and it was a dead area. Monday house then. Mayur Vihar hadn't happened. Supreme Court would close, and Bengali market was the only area which was alive till about 10:30, 11. Otherwise, it was all, and we would at 2 o'clock in the morning go for tea to Rivoli or Hindustan Times, whatever, walk. And people knew that these are students, so but then terrorism had started. So there were security issues in 82, 83, 84 because of Punjab. And we were then told not to roam around so much and all that. But so the day was like this. And whenever we got time, which was say a Sunday or whatever, then we'll go to Pragati Maidan to watch a film which had come for the festivals. So Tarkovsky and rest of the international filmmaker, Fabri, we got to see those films in Pragati Maidan. It was pretty enriching, I would say.
So, sir, let's talk about your class of 84 at NSD.
Yeah.
Who are some people who became celebrities later or, mainstream cinema?
Look, cinema, Seema Biswas, she became very big, Bandit Queen.
Yeah.
She got national award, and she's a very, very good actress. And then Renuka Israni, who was Gandhari in Mahabharata of B.R. Chopra. She made it well. She did very well for herself. Then there are Amla Rai, who's running an institute in Himachal. She's into theatre academics in a big way. Then Padmashri, who was in charge of Goa School of Drama. Then she was there. My other friend Afsar Hussain, both of them carried on there, did very good work as mentors. Then there is Avtar Sani, who's also a very well-known designer, director. Then Baswa Lingaya from Mysore, who was head of Rangayan and a very good director in his own right there. Then KG Krishnamurthy, who runs an institution in a village in Karnataka, my batchmate. Then Suren Sharma, who's very well known in Delhi. He's a very good actor, director. He's a celebrated one. Sangeet Natak Academy Award winner. He, Avtar, and a few others of my batch. Then there were people like Kulkarnis. We lost about 5, 6 of them. Mahavir Bullar is a very celebrated actor in Punjab from my batch. He's doing very well. Then a lot of them, but mostly we have now who are very good mentors.
Okay.
I
So
would say
they transitioned to education, is it, sir?
some of them, and doing very well there, running institutions, handling projects.
Great.
Then yeah, these were the ones who really stood out. Shiv Kumar Sharma, he makes documentaries and make projects for television. He's done enormous amount of work for television. So we have diversified in various ways, but theater remains our basic
Yeah.
commitment or love, you can say. And so it has been a very interesting batch.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, sir, people would look forward to film careers, and I think when a person, you said only 20 make it to,
Yes.
an NSD batch, people are looking forward to careers, a solid career in probably film or, what are the other opportunities that people look forward to? Is it just film or how hard it is to get into films?
Look, film, then I can talk about my time. There were only 3 options: little work in television plays, private television work had not started then. It just started around the time we passed out. So Renuka was our first batchmate who went into Hum Log.
Okay.
So she was part of Hum Log. Now that had just started. Then sponsored programs and the rest of the things happened. Before that, NSD students had very few options. The little work in television, or maybe job as a production executive in a television in Doordarshan. Some of us did that also. Some of my seniors did that also. Work in repertory company as an actor, which wasn't very great salary, but passion and commitment kept them there. Then there would be an offhand project like Gandhi or some other which will come in and they'll get a role also. It only happened that after Nasir and Om, and Nasir and Om, to be fair, after NSD went to FTI also.
Mhm.
So from 73 passing out of NSD, Till 76, they were in FTI, 75, 76. So Nasir Bhai got an opportunity with Mr. Benegal. Om Puri got an opportunity with Mr. Benegal. And rest of them also, most of NSDI stage actors. Kulbhushan ji came from Calcutta. Then there would be a whole bunch of actors, Ila Arun and rest of them. So Benegal Saab was one because he was making the kind of cinema where you could fit in faces which came to NSD.
Okay.
For instance, Nasir Bhai Nompuri. So when you see a film like Ankur, you realize that there is a scope for an everyday face to make it.
Hmm.
Before that, there was a notion of a hero, 6 feet plus, tall, handsome. There was Vinod Khanna, there was Mr. Bachchan, there was a whole lot of them.
Hmm.
Dharmendra, such lovely, tough
Yeah.
figures. And people like Nasir were no match on them, physically, so to say. So to create a niche, they needed that kind of work. And it so happened that they passed out and there was a cinema which required actors of that kind. So Mr. Benegal, then Govindji followed, then there were Saeed Mirza Saab, then there is Kundan Shah and Vinod Chopra and whole lot of FTI graduates wanting to make films. So NFDC became big.
Hmm.
And these actors were wise enough to shuffle between, say, so-called parallel cinema and mainstream cinema. So someone like Shaman Azmi, who was from FTI, started with Mr. Benegal, but worked also in mainstream Chor Machai Shore and those films, and used that stardom to promote realistic kind of stories
Hmm.
in films. So that was the balance it was happening, and most of my batchmates didn't go to films. After that, Sushmita Mukherjee was also senior to me. She made it big as a television actress in Karamchand. Alok Nath ji was there. He was already Bunyad.
Yeah.
They were all in NSDItes. So NSDItes were in television increasingly working. And so that was the option. Sadly, what had happened is that the states ventured into repertory companies, but they closed it one by one. So Haryana had one, Punjab had one, then there was Lucknow had one, Shriram Center was here having a repertory company, NSD had a repertory company. Bharat Bhavan made it very big. It was a very good place. But then that shut down. So by the time we went out, the options were there, but they dried up one by one.
Yeah. Okay.
So for an actor to get work and survive, television was the only alternate. So some of them got busy there. Rightfully so, because I don't blame them at all. Uh, Sadly, what was the case was that for film work, you had to migrate to Bombay, which is not a Hindi heartland in the technical sense of the word, like Delhi or Allahabad or Kanpur would be. Had cinema been happening in Delhi in a big way then, most of the talent would have stayed back, like in Calcutta, like in Bombay, Maharashtra, Marathi talent. Anana Patekar can work in a Marathi stage and work in a Hindi film.
Regional cinema.
Cinema also.
Yeah.
Same with Gujarati. Bengal, they can work in Aparna Sen can act, direct a Bengali film very comfortably living in Calcutta. It doesn't have to come to Bombay. So, but Hindi heartland had to go to Bombay for historical reasons.
Yeah.
So this whole thing was, when I was there, there was this whole very strong division of people who kind of ditched theatre for cinema and all that. Which is very stupid actually, because an actor is unemployed without a role.
Interesting. So expand on it.
I'm saying, what will an actor do if he doesn't have a role to do?
Yeah.
So his job is to act. So wherever he is getting an opportunity to act, he should act.
Don't be choosy, you are saying.
Choosing, no, I'm saying, who has advised him to starve and remain in theatre
Okay.
and not have a good life like they have in other fields?
Hmm.
For instance, there was this accusation that they work on government grant and you do this, but you don't work in theatre, you go and migrate to films. So my answer would be that what about the IITians
Hmm.
or medicine students who worked on government money, migrated to America?
Yeah.
Or migrated to other countries?
Hmm.
Why are you not after them? Why are you not saying they ditched the rural the heartland of India? They didn't provide, they were ethically sworn to work for the betterment of health of the larger population of India.
Hmm.
But they migrated. So if IITians and medicine men are not accused of ditching, why are theatre people being accused of this? I never found that very convincing. I found that very, after a point, very narrow way of looking at arts.
Hmm. So, after you graduated
Yeah.
from NSD, what was your journey towards the first assignment, your first assignment? What was it? How did it
Well,
come to you?
while I was passing out, there was a change in directorship. So Mr. Mohan Maharishi had joined the day we were leaving. So our farewell was his welcome. But it so happened that next day he inquired and he got to know that three of us, my batchmates, were given children's theatre workshop by the children's theatre department. And the rest of the students were very agitated that why they were not, why were we preferred and not them. So there was this whole issue. And Mohan Maharishi was wise enough to call the in charge person, Pankaj Saxena, and ask him, why did you prefer these three? So Pankaj went to the library, got hold of magazines of last 2 years, where there were reviews of the plays we had done in our vacations back home or in Nainital or in some other places. And he went and told Mohan Maharishi that these are the only students who had worked in the last 2 years. So I chose, out of 20, I chose to give three. So that was my introduction to Mohan Maharishi. Then Mohanji said, "Ke your this reports are very good, so you can be part of a repertory company."
Mhm.
But I said, "Sir, I don't want to be in Delhi anymore. I want to travel and see. I want to work with Habib Tanvir, Panikkar, Ratan Thiyam, and Ratanda I had worked in Manipur, but I wanted to work with Karanji and these three. So please give me a scholarship which can permit me to go and work with them." So Mohan Maharishi spoke to Habib Saab.
Mhm.
Habib Saab said, "Fine." So I wrote a letter to Habib Saab. Habib Saab replied that you can join me in this whole historical letter I have, which is very interesting. He gave me his entire schedule for the next 6 months and wrote, "These are the chunks you can join me." So I joined him in Raipur immediately after passing out. So I was working on a fellowship with him, Naya Theatre. I wanted to see how he runs his company,
Mm.
how he runs his theatre group,
Mhm.
because that is something which we didn't know. We only knew how repertory is run. We didn't know how other groups are run. So I saw Habib Saab's working. Then I saw Panikkar Saab's working in Trivandrum. Then Ratan Tha I already knew because we had worked with him in Manipur for 3 months. Karanji in Bhopal. So those 4 months gave me. And then Habib Saab said, "You leave everything, work with me." So Habib Saab invited me to be part of his company. And Mohan Maharishi meanwhile said, why are you wasting your time there? You come and I need teachers in the school. So if you come and take this design assignment. So he gave me to design the exhibition of 25 years of National School of Drama, which was to go to Berlin. So I designed that exhibition while remaining in school, and my job was to, he said, help these students with speech. So Irfan's batch, I worked with them on their speech. Meeta, Irfan, all of them were there doing a play with Prasanna. So my job was to correct them with speech and pronunciation and things like that. Then in poetry exercise also, I worked with Raghuvi Saiji on that. So Mohan Maharishi was using me to help students and design this, and he wanted me to be kept in the school. It so happened that he left. But I got this chance to design in Apna Utsav 86 the lighting for and staging for the monuments of Delhi. So we did that was a show called Gunte Patthar. We had where we had all the classical and traditional musicians coming and performing in those selected archaeological survey of India sites. So we had a 24-hour music thing in Purana Qila. Then there was Time Rag cycle we did in Purana Qila. St. James Church we did choir. Bakhtiyar Kaki we did Qawwali. Then Drupad in Jahaz Mahal. And so I could design all those sites. Birju Maharaj Ji and Bekal Utsai in Rahim Khan Khan's tomb. So all that I could do, I got to design, coordinate, do that. And then I got the invitation to be part of Bharati Khoj.
So that I wanted to come to that.
Yeah.
And I thought it will lead there. But Bharat Ek Khoj is like a legendary play, and I've heard so much about it. So you were involved in it. Could you talk a little bit about your involvement? How did you get to get introduced to,
You see,
Vinita sir?
Mr. Nitish Roy, who was an art director and a production designer then in Mumbai, very, very, very great guy. He designed the entire Ramoji Rao studio. After that, but at that point of time, he was Mr. Benegal's art director and production designer. So I happened to meet him, and he said, "You're from NSD, what have you done?" So I briefly explained to him, because I wanted to be an art director. I wanted to assist him. So he heard me out and he says, "No, you don't assist me. You come with me to meet Mr. Benegal. You do costumes for." He's looking for somebody to design costumes and handle that entire project. Research and costuming, you come with me. So he took me to meet Mr. Benegal. And Mr. Benegal met me precisely for 5 minutes.
Okay. How was that meeting, sir?
It was like, see,
He created for us, sir.
my memory is that I enter the room and Mr. Benegal looks at me, yeah, please come, sit. And that he had that, what can I call, about 10-second gaze.
Yeah.
So he had that 10-second gaze at me and then said, "Okay, so you are from National School of Drama. Have you done designing? Have you done costuming?" I said, "Yeah, I've done for plays." So then he gave me another look and said, "Fine, you do it."
So no interview, no other questions.
No portfolio, nothing. And I look at it very differently. I look at it as something that Mr. Benegal had the confidence that I will take work out of him if he's willing to. I look at it like that. And whatever he saw in me, I don't know. I never got talking to him on that because I was very embarrassed to know. But he gave me very good testimonials in the sense that the biggest compliment I could get from him happened one day, but I'll come to that later. So Bharat Ek Khoj, I get in. This is, I'm talking of late 87, about July or so, mid 87, 88. We had this conversation. The project was to go on in the next 6 months. But then there were hurdles, sponsorship, this, that issue. And for 3 months, nothing was happening. But as luck would have it, around the same time, Gulzar Sahab was planning to make rather, Mirza Ghalib series. So he called us. He got to know from Mr. Arun Kaul that Mr. Benegal has this team of 2 new designers who are fresh and they are doing Bharat Ek Khoj. So that kind of certified us for Gulzar Sahab. Mr. Benegal is using these two, so they must be worth something. So he invited me, and my first meeting with him was again, we go to Gulzar Sahab's office. He was on the 9th floor of Cozium then. So for 3-4 minutes we waited. He was inside in his room doing something, and then 4-5 minutes we were ushered in. So he was doing something, and then he looked half up like this through his glasses and said, "Okay, please come back here." And the way Gulzar Sahab is, yes, courtesy personified. He said, "नहीं, this मैं गालिब कर रहा हूँ और ये तो आप अगर कर दें." It was like this. If you, we jumped on it. Ghalib, I was familiar with.
Were you holding yourself back?
No. I was too new, But I was, you see, the way he reached out was very endearing. And of course, I knew Ghalib. I knew, so I wasn't overawed in that sense. So he came out. We said, "We'll do it." तो फिर वो गालिब हो रहा था, नहीं हो रहा था. Then October 87, we did the pilot of Ghalib, which was my first shooting project in Mumbai. And I was...
So after how many years did you?
No, after I passed out, in my third year, I was in Mumbai doing designing for television. And Mirza Ghalib became what it became.
Massive hit. Yes.
Massive. I could meet Manmohan Singh, the cinematographer, which remained a very long relationship. Narinder Singh ji, who was the sound recordist, incidentally was Rakhi brother of my would-be mother-in-law.
Okay.
Then it wasn't the case. So Narinder ji was there. Then Jagjit Singh, my all-time favorite. Jagjit bhai, I could interact, go in recordings, see him work from close quarters. And Gulzar Sahab, of course, was there. And Nasir bhai. Nasir bhai didn't know that I am from NSD till about 3 months in the shooting. It's only later he got to know. But then we were cordial. I used to go and meet him and see that it's all done and he will come and do that. So I met one of the finest team of technicians in Mirza Ghalib and Bharate Khoj. Bharate Khoj, we had V.K. Murthy Saab, the cameraman, who was Guru Dutt's cameraman, very close associate of my mama, Abrar Alvi. And that I didn't tell Murthy Saab then. But I remember Shyam Benegal Saab called me, Nitish Roy and V.K. Murthy Saab to his house over lunch and showed me 4 or 5 classics.
Mhm.
Just to tell us that this is the kind of treatment I need for Bharati Khoj. So that still remains in my memory as one of the finest days of my life, spending with Mr. Benegal, discussing films, this, that. Then Bharati Khoj started in 88. Now, Bharati Khoj is a wonderful case study. It is so sad that we have not documented the making of Bharati Khoj.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's a textbook for any aspiring filmmaker.
Masterclass.
Masterclass of how you can mount a 1 year program. It's not every day that you do a series. Now daily soaps are happening,
Mhm.
which is like a factory line production.
Yeah.
But that was not the case with Bharati Khoj. So Bharati Khoj, remember we started sometime shooting in May. So because of the monsoons, we did the outdoors first and then shifted indoors. So we worked backwards. So we worked on the first 13 episodes together. So all the indoor work was kept for later. The outdoor work happened earlier. And the telecast was fixed. That was 14th of November, 89. Nehru Saab's 100 centenary or 150 or whatever. There was some centenary hook there. Then that happened. So we were working backwards. And the challenge for me was to create costumes for about 80 to 100 characters every week.
Okay.
Because the period kept changing.
Hmm.
So we had a team of about 18 craftsmen, tailors, cutters, pagdiwalas too. Then there would be a jewelry guy. Then there's a carpenter, of course, with Natish Das team, but we used some of them later. Then there was a cobbler
Mhm.
at work to create footwear designs which we wanted because they were not available in the market. So all that was happening simultaneously and we were shooting. So we had a continuous workshop at our disposal in Film City in 2 rooms, and the shooting was happening simultaneously. So it was at times very much like a restaurant that you serve it hot. Which you used to joke, okay, the scene is to happen now. The pagdi is getting the final touch, and it is put on
Right at that time.
right put on just before the shot. Mr. Benegal would see it, touch it, okay, fine, go. So that's how it happened at times, and so it was a big challenge. It was a big challenge, and I now look back and I wonder how we managed.
Yeah. It's a masterpiece.
There were 2 others with me, Farida Siddiqui, who would be my mother-in-law in future. Then there was Bhavna Mukatiwala. These 2 were with me in that team. And one was required with shopping, one was doing something. So 3 of us were dividing our work. But I would be the anchor
Hmm.
throughout. So my day would start at about 7 in the morning and it will go until about 11 in the night.
Wow.
For 2 years, 1.5 years, we were like that. But it grounded me and prepared me for everything in life. So that and Ghalib. Ghalib was also happening simultaneously. So I would be shuffling here and there at times. But Ghalib was a very relaxed experience. Bharati Khoj was a very hectic experience. Then immediately, as Bharati Khoj was finishing, the Jalal came and said, I'm doing Kehkashan, you please come in. And Kehkashan incidentally had Jagjit ji also.
Acha.
So I was involved with recordings, I was involved with sitting. So I had a great time listening to those ghazals and getting them composed with Jagjit Bhai and getting into recordings and shootings. So that happened. Then Chandrakanta was another project which I designed, the earlier one for Neerja Guleri ji. For about 100 episodes I did, and then I left. Then Chanakya, Chandraprakash called me. So Chandraprakash Dwivedi gave me the second unit responsibility also. I was the second unit director. So I was doing with Sham Kaushal ji action scenes and some scenes there, and he would be acting and doing his job. So Chanakya was another project. And then I was about to fold myself and come back to Delhi or Lucknow, and I told Guldar Sahab, I want to go back. So he said, why are you going back? You work with me. So he invited me to be his assistant.
Wow.
And I started with the Bhim Sen Joshi documentary in 82. In between, there was I was supposed to do 1942
Love story.
with Vidya Chopra. But then I was not very comfortable, so I joined Gulzar Sahab.
Sir, you have met so many people, worked with such legendary filmmakers, theatre people. Um, Tell me about one of your memorable moments with Gulzar Saab. That still,
There are too many.
do me. Let the viewers
Too many in
know
the sense, like, for instance, this is I'm talking of during the making of Ghalib. So, on and off on Sundays when I was getting a holiday from Bharatiya Coach, so I would go and meet him
Mhm.
because there was a certain fondness I could feel with him. So, there were three people I was meeting every week in Bombay. Sham Benegal, of course, was throughout the week, right from morning till night. Then there was Gulzar Saab, I would visit very often, and Abrar Alvi, my mama, who I would visit whenever I had time. So Abrar Alvi, another great writer, directed Sabi Nam, wrote all those Guru Dutt, famous Guru Dutt films, Pyasa, Sabi, and Kagas Ke Phool, etc. So Abrar Alvi was my other, and Gulzar Saab. So between these two, my evenings would be like, I can't tell you this, but you can't expect a better evening than what I had with Gulzar Saab. Because what he would do is, he will, Sunday, if I go to him at about 5, 6 in the evening, kaise aap, how are you? Come, please, what are you doing? Then he would take me up. We would watch a Bjorn Borg and McEnroe match recording, or we'll watch some offbeat film. So he would, and we would discuss and watch, and then he will insist that I eat and leave because he knew I was all alone. So my bachelor days were spent with Gulzar Saab, evenings, and Abrar Ali. Both of them till 10:30. I was with them having food, then going home. So my holidays were kind of very well looked after. And Gulzar Saab, the great thing was that he has the ability to reach out. I have not met anyone in Mumbai who's a better listener. He is willing to listen to you and understand. And because of maybe my work, the way I worked with him and my experience of NSD and all that, there was a certain amount of fondness and respect which I could sense. Like, I was busy with Bharati, because suddenly I get a phone call. Okay, there is this invitation card for you which is waiting. Please come. Sunday we are releasing the album of Mirza Ghalib, and Gulzar Saab wants you to be there at Nehru Center. So I go to Nehru Center, there's a seat for me and
Wow.
the platinum disc. So this whole idea of making me feel important and wanted and be part of him. So that was my first, like, I can't forget that. Then he was the first one to gift me a 3 cassette package of Mirza Ghalib when it came as a recording. This is your copy.
So precious.
Precious for me. Then his music, of course, whatever I needed. Then he would be very happy if I visit him in his recordings. If I'm free, so I'll go and see. So I'll see him how he records. So it's a very interesting learning process for me. Then, and Bhimsen Joshi documentary we did in Pune, then Kirdar series happened, then Manmohan Singh invited me to be his associate director in a film. Then Matches happened. So lots of, but there are very interesting memories in the sense when I wanted him to write songs for a play of mine, for a children's play, Agar aur Magar. So I said, ये है आप इसके please गाने कर दे. So he took the script and he called me the next day morning and said, do you mind if I do the entire script? I said, not at all. अब मतलब मैं जो नहीं कह सकता था आपने कह दिया. So he offered. Then when I was doing a play on his writing and rights, I was doing Kharashe. So I said, I want to do a recurrence of communal riot play. This was immediately after the Gujarat riots. So my take was that I don't want to take sides, but I want to put across that how a common man suffers when there are communal riots. So I chose Gulzar Sahab's stories and poems and wove them together into a show. So I needed poems. So he had his reservations. Why would anybody listen to a story after a poem? Or why would someone listen to a poem after seeing a story? So I said, please give it to me, I'll do it. So fine. He gave me his entire unpublished poems.
Wow.
And he said, select from this and tell me. Now that was an unbelievable gesture. And that made me feel so responsible, I can't tell you. Because this suddenly the idea that now you are with his entire unpublished work and you have to select from there. So I was fortunate again to scan through all his poems. I've been very fortunate to be his first bouncing board for his poems and stories and things like that because I happen to be there. So if he says something कि आप एक सुनेंगे तो मैं जी बिल्कुल सुनाइए तो वो poem सुनाएंगे. Then I would give my opinion. इसमें ये अच्छा लग रहा. This is not interesting. This is nice. Stories that has so happened that when I was doing it for stage, so I said कि ये बहुत quick लग रहा मुझे. I need one more paragraph for transition. So he would write that.
Okay.
So this again is something which I cherish, that he was willing to take in my point of view, agree with it, and redo or do things.
Support you.
Support the vision I had.
Yeah.
And with full confidence. So the biggest trophy or honor I got from Guldar Sahab was when he dedicated his story collection called Deudi to me.
Wow.
And it says Salim Arif ke naam, Salim Arif ke naam, Salim Arif ke naam. He has done it thrice.
Beautiful.
And I've never asked him why thrice. But everyone asks me, why did he do it thrice? So I said, just to make you people believe that he did it out of surety. It was not accidental. So that's how it works. But yes, I am very fortunate to have him as one of my... And I think deep down somewhere, the reason that I've stayed in Mumbai is largely because of Gulzar Saab's presence. Had I not been the way I am with him, I might have got out and done like I travel now too much because we are not working much. But it so happened that when he was making of television and film, I was there. And when I was doing plays in Bombay regularly, he was there. So all our work together, we have had a relationship from 87 till 27, which is the most longest creative association I've had in my life. And I think in his life too. Because Panchamda and Vishal, of course, they have more productive work together. But the association has not been that long. But that's how it is. Benegal Saab was another outstanding guy. And one day it so happened that we were in a queue together for watching a play and at NCPA. So he came out of the queue and put his hand on my shoulder and said, यार मेरे साथ एक project और करो.
I said that to you.
I said, मैं करूँगा sir.
But Gulzar Saab did it earlier. And now.
So that was the biggest compliment. And it so happened that I could not. But then I had such intimate, lovely moments with Benegal Saab, where he shared how I just happened to speak to him once about his missing the big three. Cannes and Venice and Berlin, these three major awards. So he shared what he felt about that. Then I discussed with him films, actors, and he would give me insight. You see, he was probably the only intellectual filmmaker I met. He was possibly the most well-read person
Mm-hmm.
I have met. Well-read, updated. So he'll have a vision. He had a worldview about things. Gulzar Sahib has his own worldview about things in a very different manner. Both of them are very different people.
Yeah.
But deep down, they're very same. They're very similar. So this was one thing which I connected. And it so happened that I worked with the best right in the beginning.
Yeah.
So that was also an undoing in a way, because later on, whosoever I met didn't measure up to them.
So,
So
what were the common traits between both of them? As you said that both of them were
they divided their time very well.
really.
You'll be surprised that Gulzar Sahib would then wake up at about 5:30 in the morning, go for his tennis or badminton, whatever. For about 8 till 8, 8:15, he was there, having tea, sweating it out. Then he'll come back by 9:30 to 10:30, he'll get ready for the day. 10:30, he was with his boots on, going to office for work. So he would sit on his table without work if there is nothing for him to do, either write something or read. And that will happen till about 4 in the afternoon,
Every day.
every day. And uh, he would keep first half for his writing. So we all knew that this is no disturbance time. 2:30 onwards, he would be open to take calls and meet and greet people, and once and twice a week or so. And you'll be surprised to know he does that till today.
Really?
Living upstairs in his bedroom, coming down already sitting on his table in a proper office attire.
Wow.
It's not that, okay, I'll go down in a lungi and kurta today or in a kurta pajama. He'll have his pant and the kurta all starched and ready for the day. He'll sit there and work. Now, that was the case with Mr. Benegal also.
Mhm.
10:30, quarter to 11, he would be in his office. He used to stay behind, and his office was in Everest. We will all travel down the Tardev to meet him. And 11 till about 1, if he has to discuss, then he'll discuss and allocate. Okay, this. He'll listen to scripts, give his opinion. The writers will get on their work. We'll do our work. 2 o'clock, 2:30, he'll come back, sit there in the office. He has nothing to do, take phone calls, do something. Nothing, otherwise he'll read the newspaper. But till 4, 4:30, he'll be there in his office. So 11 to 4, reading something. So they were using their time well. And time management, Mr. Benegal was, otherwise Bharati Coach would never have happened. Had he not planned it like that. There were 2 editors, there were editing rooms outside. So he would shoot lunchtime, he'll go and see the rushes and do. So he managed all that. And remember, we were shooting it on film.
Yeah.
Where labs was involved. It wasn't that, and we were doing sync sound in film. So there were challenges of that. So there would be some dubbing happening because of some noise. There would be some other post-production work happening. So keeping a tab on all that, and seeing the rushes and seeing the print and seeing the deliveries being done on time. Master, I think it is sad, as I said, anybody who would have written a book on the making of would have been such a huge treasure for students of cinema. Because remember, cinema, time is money. The moment you hire somebody and you start working, the meter is down. So even on a shoot day, if you calculate, say, 150 people with you on the set and each having a certain amount of wage or a per day expense, calculate all that. Then every minute will come to you in thousands of rupees. So every minute you waste you are wasting thousands of rupees. So that time management, time is the key, filmmaking. And that Mr. Benegal understood very well. And he was a fantastic filmmaker outdoors. I have not seen anybody work so fast in outdoor than Mr. Benegal. He knew how to construct a scene outdoors and finish it in 2-3 hours. It was amazing. Very, very, very amazing.
Such great conversation, sir.
Yeah.
So later on, you worked on a lot of films as well as a part of your journey.
And I did television, a lot of work on television as director.
So could you talk about little bit about the titles, the filmography?
The titles, like my first television show was for Doordarshan called Saath Saath. Then another one I did for kids was called Natkat Rani Badi Siani, which I believe is a cult thing with kids. So all of them have grown up. So Natkat Rani was my one television show for kids. Then the Saath Saath was another. Then I did a show called Daman for Sahara. Then there were Rishte episodes, short films I did for Z, 4, 5 of them, and some more work here and there. But then by that time, the programmers had started intervening. So the role of a director was just to shoot the scenes for the day and forget them. How they are going to be put together was post-production guys. So I was the creative director for a show called Mariam Khan for about 3 months, where I was responsible, which was very recent on Star Plus before pandemic. So we did that show. That was the last television work there. Then there were films like Ghadar, which I planned for Anil Sharma. There were Kuru from Mani Ratnam sir. Then with Gulzar Saab, all the films, Matches, Uttutu, his series on Premchand. The 3 major work I did with him. Then Manmohan Singh's Pehla Pehla Pyar, where I could work with an amazing actor, Rishi Kapoor, who I admired the most, and I had a lovely rapport with him. So that was a very fond memory of mine, having Rishi Kapoor with me in Switzerland and talking to him and moving around, eating, all that. So he was there. Then, so these were major. Fiza, Khalid Mohammad's first film that I did, where Santosh Sivan was there. Then I did a Malayalam film called Yodha as a designer for Sangeet Shivan, Santosh's brother, who's no more, sadly. So Sangeet was another very good friend, and Sangeet did that with Mohanlal sir. So that was shot in Nepal. So I designed that. So there was on and off these projects, but not actually. I didn't take everything that came my way. I refused a lot of work for various reasons because I felt there was no point being part of something which I don't like to do.
So short on time, and your
Yeah.
journey is so inspirational, sir. I would now want to discuss about your advice for young creators. Most of our audience is students and young professionals who are either right now interested in sketching, or they are looking at film, OTT, and the social media way of things, and they want to become artists,
Yeah, I can.
creator, film media.
Again, I've been very fortunate, as I would say, lucky, you can say, to be part of Whistling Woods from 2007. So I was head of their production design department. Then I was head of their acting department for a while, and then cultural studies. So that gave me a lot of time to work with youngsters and youngsters of today. And I come to National School of Drama very regularly as a mentor to some other NIFT and NID at times and FTI at times. So I do get to interact with a lot of these youngsters today. And I think the great thing about this generation is that they're very sure about what they don't want to do, which is half the battle won, in the sense that these are the things they just don't want to do. I know for sure. So I know that now whatever left for them to do, they have to do something about it. They may sound a little confused. They may be obsessed with their phones. But in between, we have to catch that 5 minute of attention of theirs to initiate them into something. So my advice to anybody who's interested in media and film and theater or whatever is that first understand that there is a lot behind the glamour which attracts you. We were very fortunate to get away from the glamour quotient very early on in life. So glamour didn't attract us anymore. once out of NSD, glamour never impacted me or any of our students. So that's one thing you have to understand, that it will look very lucrative, interesting. It is not. It's sheer hard work. And there have been stories.
Mm.
Stories like Nawazuddin's, stories like Tigman Shudulia, stories like Anurag Kashyap's. They have all come from very humble non-film backgrounds.
Mhm.
But they have made it big, and they have defined in their own way the kind of work they wanted to. Vishal Bharadwaj, for instance, came from cricket into music and music to cinema, and look what he has done. So these are the guys who had a certain amount of clarity about what they want to say.
Hmm.
Like Vishal was very clear that he will not stay long as a music maker. He will tell his own stories. He didn't know then, but over a period of time, he got interested and started telling stories. So he started from television, one or two shows, and went into Bakri and all that. So
Hmm.
rest is history. Same with you. So first you have to be convinced about yourself. And that conviction has to come from within. That, okay, this is what you want to do. Now you have to find a way to learn, because you may say that Shah Rukh Khan never went to a film school or Mr. Bachchan never went to a film school. But they learned in theatre, they groomed themselves.
Hmm.
And not these two, but there are others who learnt at the cost of the producer in front of camera
Hmm.
while doing films. So you have a whole history of actors who have evolved. Look at, say, Saif Ali Khan.
Hmm.
He has evolved as an actor over a period of time. You see the early Saif Ali Khan and you see Omkara.
Hmm.
You see the difference.
True.
Same with actresses. Same with the rest of some of them. Some of them have come like a bang. Like there's someone like Ajay Devgan, who never had a lean period. He's always been a viable alternate. But look at his body of work. Look at the kind of roles he has done. And he has overcome all his so-called non-starry uh, inabilities and made them into an asset. He's as big a star as any of them. Akshay Kumar has worked very hard. Sunil Shetty. So now, these people have worked hard. You can't imagine the kind of discipline they have in their lives. Akshay Kumar, Sunil Shetty's.
Hmm.
They were highly disciplined actors. Early risers, no parties, no drinking, all that. They had a system. So today it's like, if you see a Virat Kohli running 3 runs in 49th over,
Hmm.
you admire at the fitness level which they have reached. Now that level has increased his talent, the ability to perform, as anybody who would have retired 4 years earlier
Yeah.
is now doing it, still capable of winning matches. So what has he done? He has trained his mind and body to the requirements of the day. So youngsters have to train their mind and body to the requirements of the day. And also they have to know. The sad part is that the today's generation most of the time feels that everything can be outsourced.
Hmm.
So they have a Google to outsource knowledge, information. They have food vendors to outsource food. They have to, but when it comes to creation, you can't outsource
You can't
creativity.
outsource creation. Yes, sir.
So you have to have, and filmmaking that way is a great medium, because you have 120 people willing to deliver what you want.
Hmm.
You just have to say that this is how I want. तुम इधर से आओगे, यहाँ खड़े होगे, यहाँ पे आके ये लाइन बोलोगे, ऐसे लुक दोगे, यहाँ से ये कैमरा ऐसे मूव करेगा. Camera will do his job, sound recordist will do his job, actor will do his job.
So, would you say that filmmaking has become easier over the years? Like it used to be?
I find it easier today because you can see what is happening.
Yeah.
When a film like Machis or Uttutu was made, there were no video assists.
Hmm.
So we were standing next to the camera, looking at the actor's performance, and depending entirely on cameraman for his discretion of the shot.
Hmm.
Whether the focus was in place, whether the trolley stopped at the right moment. And the cameraman had a much bigger role because he was the blind man's walking stick.
Hmm. Yeah.
So he said it's okay. We had to believe it's okay. And the value of a cinematographer was because of the result which we will see 3 months later.
Hmm.
So if you are shooting in Manali, you'll not see the rushes. You'll see it after you come back. Or maybe you'll get a few test prints done and ask somebody there how the rush is. Is the lens working correct? We would get a report. First day or 2 days of shooting, we'll send somebody to process it, see and tell this lens is going soft, इसमें ये issue है, lens बदलना है, नहीं करना है, everything is working fine. So those were the decisions which we were taking. Now today, you can carry your editor with you. He'll edit the scene in the night, whatever you shot in the day.
Yeah.
One of the assistant can be an editor who does that. Next day morning, you can say, okay, I need one more close up here, one over there. So you are every day updating
Yes.
and understanding. So in that sense, it has become easier. The economics might have become difficult because that's another story. Because it's the greed which has killed. Is the greed of making money in the first 3 days,
Hmm.
which has killed this entire cinema experience. Well, that's another debate. But for youngsters to understand is that today they have a device at their disposal. They can do a mobile film
Hmm.
edit with an FCP on their laptops at home. So in that sense, it has become liberated
And they also have audience.
audience. So it's not that we are dependent on a lab
Hmm.
for. We are not mortgaged to a lab anymore.
Yeah.
There are about 2 lakh films, which might be 13 reels ready, 12 reels ready, 4 reels ready, where they were destroyed in the labs, they couldn't complete. Today, you have the facility. You'll be amazed to know the kind of films they make in Manipur and Ladakh, which are video films.
Mm-hmm.
They edit at FCP at home. They make a film, I'll say, out of 5 to 6 lakh or 8 lakhs or 10 lakhs. That's the cost of the film. And they show it in video in tents and they recover about 12 to 15 lakh of rupees
Super.
in 3 months. So there is a filmmaking that is happening.
Wow, this is good. Yeah.
So youngsters today have everything at their disposal. They just have to apply themselves to getting the right story to tell. I think there is a story in each incident. It's the person who creates a story out of an incident. Na? So that vision you can't outsource. So that much learning they'll need to.
So how interesting. So what would you suggest should be a journey of a student? Because you're talking about a lot of observation, lot of exposure that you've had traveling from one place to another. I think
Yeah.
travel has also evolved. I
Yes.
mean, made you
Yes.
into what you are today. But unfortunately, with the introduction of a screen in front of our eyes,
Mm.
people think that exposure is right here, but it's not out there.
But that exposure is given to you by someone not of your choice.
Hmm.
So to say that all the information is available on internet is wrong.
Mhm.
You'll get only the information which is put on internet by someone.
Right.
A lot of rare good books are not there on internet.
Hmm.
I still don't have a Percy Brown book on internet, which is a basic book for anybody interested in Indian architecture, Indian set design, anything to do with Indian living.
Hmm.
Percy Brown is a scholarly work.
Mhm.
Don't have it on the net, the entire book. So there are 2,000 books like that. So I'm not saying you just go and sit in the library. I'm saying first you have to know what you need to know, basically, to tell a story. And youngsters today are very smart. They are very intelligent. They are very fortunate to be living in an era where technology is accessible. Our problem was that there was a laboratory involved, there was a film which was involved, which was expensive. Today, if you want to tell a story, you need a just basic 15-day workshop on editing. FCP you can do, put it on a laptop. Mobile lenses are available. You can use your mobile phone and have shots and edit it at home.
Hmm.
But that much effort you'll have to do.
Yes.
So you can do, and we should have students learn. We all say reel makers and all that, but reel makers are learning while doing it.
Hmm.
So it is something you learn by doing. There is no theory. Theory is important, but theory will not equip you to handle practice. You have to practice it and see whether the theory is working for you or not.
Got it, sir.
So I think that is important. Plus, students need to get into more into poetry, literature, because AI will give them everything except emotion.
Hmm.
And stories work on the basis of emotion. Ideas are ads. Stories don't have ideas only. You need to have an emotional quotient working for you in a story to make it work for you. Because that is what has kept Shakespeare, Premchand alive.
Yes.
So anybody who reads a story like Eidgah goes through the same experience which my father had gone through or my mother had gone through and my son will go through.
Hmm.
So to share that experience, to understand that emotional side of a life, you need to expose yourself to that.
Would you like to share a few titles, few books that?
No, I think it's sad that our IBM other schools don't teach you Premchand, don't teach you Ismat Chughtai, don't teach you Manto, don't teach you Rajinder Singh Bedi. These are great short story writers.
Mm-hmm.
Hindi, Shiv Murthy, Kuan Narayan, Agge. Now they should be not part of the syllabus all the time, but they should be allied studies
Hmm.
for storytellers.
Yeah.
Then they'll know how to use a poem to convey an idea. The biggest ideas are conveyed in 3 lines or 4 lines of a poem. And जो कोशिश करने वालों की हार नहीं होती, कितना इस्तेमाल होती है. Now that पूरी फिल्म उस आइडिया से निकलती है.
जी.
आपके गीता के एक श्लोक से पूरी फिल्म निकल आती है.
जी.
सो वो श्लोक समझने के लिए, उसका एक्सपेंस समझने के लिए आपको वो तो जानना पड़ेगा. That cannot be outsourced.
Yeah. You're right.
Experiences have to be your own for them to be meaningful to others.
And to express them through your.
हाँ, otherwise you are a postman. कि आप दूसरे का खत दूसरे तक पहुंचा रहे हैं. आप अपना खत दूसरे तक नहीं
Great
पहुंचा
analogy.
रहे. जी.
Yeah, great conversation, sir. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for a great, wonderful conversation.
It was a pleasure.
I think that this kind of a discussion with a legend like you cannot be completed in one day.
Mm.
I look forward to having a part 2 for our audience, where
Definitely.
we'll go deeper into
Yes,
filmmaking
we
and
should.
other aspects of it.
We should do that. We should do that. Talk about production design, talk about costume design, talk about technical aspects which are very important to know because it all adds on to the aesthetics of cinema, which in fact is more important at times than the story of a cinema. Because aesthetically put idea becomes a bigger emotional impact than and a good idea very badly executed in terms of aesthetics. So you start finding it shabby. You don't look at it the same way. And that's the difference between a Dhurandhar and an average action film.
Hmm.
It's somewhere the higher aesthetics of storytelling in Dhurandhar, which makes it what it is.
Salim Saab, thank you so much for
Thank you, sir.
wonderful conversation.